Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all of you joining us around the world. Welcome to the CXO Series 2025, where bold innovation meets executive leadership. I'm Chaitra Vedalapalli, President and co-founder of Women in Cloud, and I am thrilled to have with us today. So first is in the chat, let us know where you're joining us from. So we have people from Egypt, Texas, Poland, New York, India, Dubai, in Dublin, Hong Kong, Chicago. The first is excellent. We're really excited to see all of you. For today's session, we are focused on AI for cloud transformation. But just last week, our community made a history by participating in the AI Skills Fest, contributing to the Guinness World Record and sparking the global AI readiness. But today, we are going to take the momentum further with the focus on real world transformation. So if you are excited about real world transformation, put boom in the chat so we know that you're very excited. Next slide, Carolina. Excellent, very good. So for today's session, we are focused on how to use AI to accelerate cloud transformation. It's not about just learning about it, but also learning about how the execution is done. We are also focusing on how to solve for speed, efficiency, and productivity with insights so that how we can do it effectively. So as part of today, we'll focus on how AI streamlines cloud migration tasks. Second one is how AI automates and predicts challenges. And the third one is AI supports modern tech strategies. Out of the three, which one are you very interested? Put it in the chat for us. Okay, so I want to take a moment to thank our distinguished thought leaders, speakers from EY and PepsiCo who are joining us today and also leading this vital conversation. So anyone who is new to Women in Cloud, put yes in the chat. So at least I want to make sure we welcome you to the Women in Cloud community. A quick thing about Women in Cloud, we are a global economic access movement on a mission to unlock $1 billion of economic opportunity for women and allies by 2030 through partnerships with corporations, policymakers, and community leaders. So we focus on workforce development, economic development, and advocacy work to help women and allies thrive in the AI-powered economy. So today you're not just attending an event, you're really entering an ecosystem committed to collective action, economic impact, and equity in innovation. So please take a moment to really be active in the chat today because then you get to really be very excited. So now let's meet some of our visionary speakers. So today's conversation is really guided by some of the most inspiring leaders driving digital transformation on scale. But if you go back, Carolina, just for a moment. So if you have questions, please use the Q&A tab which is on your right-hand side, so you can actually communicate with us. And you can always use the chat and the emojis to express your expression and learning that you had today. So please take a moment. But for today's speakers who are going to be here is Gayatri Narayan, a Senior Vice President of Global Digital Products and Services at PepsiCo, who's leading one of the largest CPG companies through AI-led innovation. We have Pat Sullivan, EY's Global Digital Engineering Lead, a leader who's helping enterprise adopt agile cloud-native models to achieve scale and speed. And then our amazing moderator for today is Sue Chow, partner at EY America's Technology Consulting and Strategic Leader in EY Cloud Practice. So let's give them a warm welcome in the chat. And we have Pranita Nair, who's also joining us from India, she's part of EY. So Sue, please take it away.
First of all, can you hear me? Just want to do a quick, okay. Chai, thank you for the introduction. By the way, you've raised the bar very high for me here. But I'm sure with Pat and with Gayatri here, I'm sure this conversation is going to be a really good one because we're all technologies at heart. Without further ado here, I'm going to maybe, and I know that I'm not going to do justice to the introduction, your introduction.
So just for a minute, Pranita, you can just switch off your camera and mic for now, and then we'll bring you on again. Okay, so take it away from here.
Okay, sounds good. As I ask you the questions, Anita and Pat, maybe I'll ask you all to introduce yourself first, right? What do you do in your day job? First question, I'm going to go to Gayatri, but before I do that, Gayatri, maybe introduce yourself. What does your day job look like?
Absolutely. First of all, thank you so much for having me at the Women in Cloud discussion event. And I'm so excited to be here and share my thoughts. My day job, Civic, is really, I'm leading technology and application development at PepsiCo globally. And that entails digitizing all aspects of PepsiCo's value chain, from procurement to manufacturing, logistics, all the way into marketing and sales. So yes, we pretty much touch the entire surface area, and we're on this journey of digitizing PepsiCo to operate like a digitally native company.
And I have to say that, Gayatri, your job is very important because at the end of the day, myself and my family, we are your customers. So
thank you for the business.
So first question to you here really is around more on the strategy, right? We start with strategy first before we get into engineering and operations.
Yeah.
How do you see AI evolving from a supporting tool to being a core driver in decision making, in enabling, right, your cloud strategy?
Yeah. This is, I think, just in terms of the technology evolution that's happened recently with generative AI, it's a very exciting time to be driving digital transformation, to be operating in cloud native technology. So in terms of the decision vectors, the things that we think about is, as we look at applications, is availability. We want to make sure that the applications are operating well, seamless disaster recovery, and absolutely, how do you maintain a very optimal run cost? So what used to be a very laborious and manual exercise, and actually inefficient too, has now become extremely streamlined. If you take just cloud operations and governance, and if you think about pre-deployment, we at PepsiCo are applying a lot of generative AI to application logs, and we're simulating what the capacity requirements need to be for cloud resources. We're able to be predictive about when the spikes are happening, what time of day, what day of week, what have you. And it also makes it a lot easier to do game theory on disaster scenarios. We're very buttoned up and prepared. But even then, post-deployment, if we run into any kind of issues, then we've done a lot of automation to support the triaging of the incidents and be able to quickly isolate what the problems are and address them. So that's just, if you look at the efficiency, the high availability and disaster recovery have been the areas that we have really leaned in to drive towards these efficiencies.
Okay. And of course, later on, when we get into operations part, support part, and even going into the predictive part, I'm going to come back to you with a question on that as well. So now next up here is Pat. Of course, Pat, you and I, we are partners in crime, literally partners in crime. Of course, you also have the role of being the global, right, engineering leader for us. Maybe tell us a little bit about your day job at EY as a global engineering leader.
Hey, so if crime is working together with you, then we're in good business. So first off, it's great to be here. Thank you so much to Women in Cloud for having me here today. I work at EY, and my job is to run our digital engineering business globally. And what that really comprises of, it's where we make things. So it's obviously where we do all of our cloud engineering, and we've got 8,000 of the world's best business engineers working with our clients every single day on taking whatever our clients' visions and sometimes dreams, but certainly problems, and turning them into reality and delivering value. So it's a really important job, and it's one that I love because, quite frankly, when you think of EY, the first thing that comes to mind is not, oh my gosh, a bunch of cloud engineers or technologists, but we've got a lot of them, and I'm so proud of our team and the work that they do every day.
Well, Pat, I would say that I got a different reactions when I tell my friends and even ex-colleague that I joined
Yeah.
EY. They said, did you become an accountant or CPA? I said, besides that, we do
Right.
technology too. I think it's a perfect question here for you, right? So digital engineering leader here is,
Yeah.
how do you see AI in transformation, cloud innovation? Because yes, there is always that journey of, hey, let's go to the cloud, let's migrate. But the cloud is not just only to get there because of compute, but it's also to provide that capacity for growth, for innovation. So how do you see AI lending itself in terms of modernization, innovation, transformation?
Yeah, I think in the simplest fashion, what we're doing and what we're building is we're staffing AI on our projects today. So it's not something that we're looking to do or we're planning to do or we're in the process of developing. Quite frankly, we are taking agents and we are staffing them on our programs. And so we're already hitting that innovation curve. And what we've done at EY is we launched something called EY.ai, and that's our platform. One of the most recent launches, and we'll have different sub variants of EY.ai. So we just launched our agentic platform in partnership with NVIDIA, and then we'll expand that to other partnerships as well. But that's the landing zone of where we're cataloging all of our agents to go and do work. Specifically in cloud, the innovation is awesome right now. And things like AI containers and just everything you can AI, we're doing. We've taken landing zones to a whole new service in a sense that we don't have really any human intervention once we set the policies and we let AI run those landing zones. AI can constantly work back and forth with whatever the technology is to ensure that we're grabbing the latest and greatest security definitions, policies, you name it, and we're always keeping up to date. And quite frankly, we're delivering a better quality of service from that perspective. So I'm a huge fan of what's happening with AI. And quite frankly, what I'm more proud of is the way that our team has embraced it. There's this misconception that AI is going to take people's jobs away and things like that. I totally disagree. Our people are now working with AI every single day. And quite frankly, it's freeing them up from doing things that they don't want to do anymore. Who wants to deploy a container in a cloud anymore? No one, right? If we can use AI, which actually is doing a little bit of a better job due to the ability to always be on 24/7, those are innovations that we've got to continue to develop. But more importantly, what we're interested in doing is bringing that out to the market. And as we estimate our programs for our clients, we're literally putting AI in some of those positions that we used to have people. Now, it's not replacing anyone's job or what have you, because as volume grows, we just are able to deploy that in such a differentiated way. So overall, I think it's a game changer for what we're doing in cloud.
Pat, so you are definitely 3 to 5 steps ahead of me, because I was about to say, maybe that's a question, right? At the end, I'm going to ask you about, is AI going to replace human? But you already are ahead of me, as always.
No, but please, everyone out there, please get to understand AI, how it works, what it does. Get yourself in those one-on-one classes. Chai and Women in Cloud team are doing some fabulous things to help people learn and get the basics. The sooner you can do that, you're going to be even more marketable because you understand how AI can help innovate and drive things. And it's just going to make you even that much more attractive in the market. It's very important right now.
Absolutely. And I'm with you. And I think the next question for Gayatri, I think, which is also very relevant here, right, is when it comes to IT operations. I think to Pat's point, the perfect segue to you here is seeing how AI lends itself in IT operations. And 2 is, how do you see your workforce being ready to leverage AI in IT operations? So how would you see that working in terms of your ITSM, your DevOps tool chains, and preparing, right, to embrace AI?
Yeah. No, first, before I dive in, so I did want to piggyback a little bit on what Pat said, right? I know everyone's like thinking through, oh, is AI going to take over? And I love what Pat said in terms of even within our roadmaps, product roadmaps, we are thinking about, okay, there are tasks that are going to be, or work items that are going to be assigned to an AI agent, right? It's not going to be someone that on the team that's going to be doing it. So the key thing is differentiating yourselves in terms of the skill sets. And really the way I think we should all think about generative AI and agentic AI, and as things are evolving, is how do I get to focus on high value work and high judgment decisions versus getting bogged down with some of the more tactical efforts, right? There's a lot we do in our day to day that we rather just have an AI agent do versus us spending time on it. So with that, now switching gears and talking a little bit about how we've leveraged AI in the ITSM, as well as incident management, as well as in the CI/CD pipeline. So on the ITSM side, it was very exciting, right? If you go to any enterprise, you see a lot of legacy applications, and we have thousands and thousands of them at PepsiCo. And the big challenge there is, like, my team has zero working knowledge of a good number of these applications. And so, but we still are responsible for maintaining and sustaining them. So what we did is we actually deployed AI agents to go mine all of the historical incident data, which was in a system. It's unstructured data. It's hard to even kind of figure out what's going on. And then it came back with kind of what are the high frequency incidents that are happening within an application? What are the resolutions? Because it can even mine the collaboration that happens within the team, that within the ticketing system, and that helps us identify where in the stack there's a propensity for issues, and we can either proactively go address it, or at the very minimum, when the incidents happen, we can minimize the mean time to resolution and overall reduce costs overall. So that's one area where, and we did it even before, the generative AI wave started to hit, because we have structured data, let's go mine that. And now we just pulled in the unstructured data to help with the process. Now, the thing that we're doing though is we're closed looping it, right? So what I mean by that, and this is where it starts to come into the CI/CD pipeline. So now we have a really good perspective of, as you look at a technology stack for an application, where are the risky areas in the stack? Where do we see the most number of incidents? And so what we've done is now we deploy generative AI to write test cases. So think about the anti-pattern. And so it's, okay, can we make sure we have the right functional test cases, or even the integration test cases in the areas or workflows where there's a higher risk? And so we've closed loop that, and that has allowed us to actually bring down the number of incidents. And hence the entire sort of maintenance as a sustained effort is a lot more streamlined, both before deployment and then after deployment. And so it has actually helped us drive more than 14% operational productivity, which is massive, especially when you think about my organization having to support thousands of applications.
Wow, that is impressive. You're talking about 14%. And Gayatri, while you were describing how AI really helped transform your IT operations, I started thinking, is a 4-day work week going to be even more possible right now with the use of AI? That was what was going on inside my head. I know Pat is laughing here. You know what? It could be possible, given that, we're leveraging AI to do a lot of the more manual stuff, automation. I'm going to go to the next question here, and I'm going to start with Pat, and then same question for you, Gayatri. So we talk about strategy, we talk about innovation, we talk about operations. Now let's go a little bit more futuristic here, to be able to predict, right? Maybe Pat, where do you see how we're going to leverage AI in being more proactive in prediction? Again, there's the gray line of accuracy, but probably I won't go there. But how do you see that playing out in this field here, being able to forecast, right? And maybe give us some use case scenarios, practical use case scenarios.
I love this question because I got a cool answer to it. But just first off, there's the business of AI, and then there's us with AI, right? And so if you just think about it, one question I ask people all the time is, especially when I get a live audience, is I'll ask them to raise their hand and say, how many of you have used AI today? It's still to this day, you might only get half the room to raise their hand. And then my next comment is, I got news for you. AI has been using you all day long. You might as well put yourself in a position of power and understand how to use it and leverage it. And it could just be simple things like using an app on your phone to search for things instead of just your traditional browser search. You'd be shocked at the quality of the answers you get. But now applying it into the business, I think it's really important. And one of the things we're working on with a few of our clients right now is actually putting AI in the boardroom. And if you think about that, right? Financial data. which is generally a lot of what happens in a boardroom. You talk a lot about financial data, and certainly you talk about different events that are happening outside in a world that could affect results, business results, your people, employment, things of that nature. And leveraging AI to do that analysis and doing that ad hoc in real time manner to ask questions, that can be done today. The data sets that come with financial data, those are structured data. And in general, it's pretty safe data to be able to make decisions on. It's when you start adding in lots of other third-party data that, may not be cleansed and have a lot of inaccuracies where, you definitely have to ensure your data is AI ready. But in that boardroom example, we're working with clients right now in such that, hey, look, we're going to go train your financial data and we're going to go train your HR data. So two things you want to talk about are your people and your finances. Cool. And then what we're going to do is we're going to pull in different things from a third party perspective. So certainly right now, pretty good example. We've got a bit of geopolitical things happening out in our world at the moment right now. How is that going to affect our financial results? How is it going to affect our people? Things of that nature, tariffs, you name it. And then you can start to do this analysis, but you can do it ad hoc. And as you ask these questions, what AI has the capability of doing is stitching the questions that you've asked and say, hey, you asked about this and you asked about this. I understand where you're going, so let me put this into an answer in such a way. And so this is where I can see the power of AI to help us make decisions that we need to, especially when it's called for to do so in rapid succession. Companies that make decisions and they make them fast with the power of their own data are going to be a higher performing company than others from a competitive landscape. And look, what an awesome job to be able to help our clients actually power this up and take advantage of this. Being predictive also means you're being suggestive, by the way, so because you're as good as the data that's out there. And however, AI has the ability to look at trends that sometimes just our human minds and spreadsheets can't go back and do, especially connecting the data together. So that's what's exciting to me. And that's a good example that I've seen lately.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right. I think connecting back to what the data point that Gayatri was sharing, right, is the amount of massive data, right? And like you said, is drawing that connections at speed, right? And at scale. Yes, human can do it, but it's going to take time and we're going to have mistakes, errors made into it. But with AI and with machine learning it can do it at speed, at scale. So Gayatri, this question with AI doing more kind of predictive type of work, this is going to be very important to me because I'm going to ask you, are you going to predict maybe the next popular drinks, what color the product is going to look like?
Yeah, I'll get to that in a minute, but I think what Pat said is very key here. It's that, are you using AI or is AI using you? One of the things that is groundbreaking, and I will start to date myself a little bit, is I had to go to school, I had to go get a master's to figure out how to communicate with computers and how do I write code, what have you. And my daughter, who's in college, she does this thing called vibe coding, where she just writes stuff in English, plain English, and develops applications. Computers now understand humans, that's the big paradigm. So to go back to what Pat was saying, we should not feel, oh my God, I don't know how to use these AI tools, what have you. It's literally almost all of them are getting down to just use plain English and you can get a lot of the work done. Now, in terms of kind of the disruptions, so I want to take you to a few different ones, and I'll come back to operating cloud native applications. But in the CI/CD pipeline, we're completely disrupting the software development lifecycle. And what I mean by that is I have UX experience designers that are putting together Figmas and they write prompts to generate code. Because if you have, especially in an environment where you have a lot of structured data and your stack is pretty composable, very easy to do. I have product managers that are now using solutions, and there are a host of them that are available to automatically take business requirements documents and write user stories in Azure DevOps. They're not writing anything. They're just feeding the document and the user stories get written. The beauty of it is now as the user stories are getting written, the test cases are also being written. to say, okay, how do we test these functional elements within the application? So now you can see it's not just the software engineers that are writing code, it's the designers, it's the product managers, it's the delivery leader, everybody's writing code. And of course, we have the engineers going in and composing everything, cleansing everything, and structuring everything. And beyond that there's a ton of automation in the CI/CD pipeline to take it through the test cycles as well as the release management and the version controlling. So that's to give you a sense of the level of disruption that's happening just in the software development lifecycle. Now, the other thing that we're doing is in the closer to the deployment phase is we're looking at conversational interfaces, right? Just like how I mentioned prompt engineering, here it's a little bit off. You actually have a conversation to say, okay, I'm ready to now provision this application in the cloud. And it's more of a dialogue to say, okay, how much compute do I need? Do I have the right level of disaster recovery setups? And then through that conversation, the agents are figuring out, okay, how do we actually provision this application and deploy it in the cloud? And for anomaly detection, you could also, in a sort of a conversational way, set the thresholds and then fine tune them to say, okay, help me detect the false positives and fine tune these issues so that it doesn't become a burden for the sustain team. Taking a step back, I think the key thing that we should all do is whatever our default posture is in terms of getting something done, we should question it and say, oh, is there an easier way that I can get it done? And just asking that question repeatedly allowed us to compress more than 50% of the effort in our software development lifecycle. And go back to the comment Pat made of, we actually have now work items in our backlog that are tagged to AI. And if that's not happening with every team and every organization and with your own work, then you're missing something.
Yeah, Gayatri, I think this conversation with you and Pat we can keep having this conversation. And this is really exciting, right? I think what I hear from both of you today is that really with AI there is a lot of empowerment, right? You can start using AI, you can start adopting technologies, you can start learning any subject, honestly, really quickly, right? So it gives you that really quick ramp up as well. And I really enjoy the part, Gayatri, where you talk about it's almost like a citizen development, right?
Yeah.
Now, having said that, there still takes a whole village of people to come together because at the end of it, like Pat said, AI is only as good as what we train it to do. So as much as you can write code, you need someone to teach it how to write good code, right? I know we're at time here. So really, thank you both of you. And I hope that the audience enjoyed this conversation as well. Yeah, thank you so much, both of you.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Okay, with that, we're going to transition to the next topic here, which is with Pranita Nair. Do we have Pranita? Is back here.
I'm just here. So Pat, Gayatri, you can just do camera off, mic off. So you can, there you go. Okay, so you can take it from here. What a great conversation you both had. Amazing.
And by the way, I think this is a perfect segue now to this topic here with Pranita, right? Because we're going to see some actions here. So maybe we start with the video first, and then Pranita will go to your introduction.
Sure.
The discovery and assessment phase uses AI agents to analyze the current IT landscape, gather data, assess dependencies, and provide insights to identify risks and assess cloud readiness. AI agents recommend a cloud architecture aligned with performance, security, and compliance needs, using insights from the previous stage and frameworks like Microsoft's well-architected framework and EY's cloud infrastructure library for best practices and adherence. AI agents automate the creation of secure, scalable cloud environments, handling tasks like architecture compliance, resource mapping, provisioning, networking, and security setup, while generating reports for human review before migration. AI agents validate configurations, check for anomalies, group workloads for migration, and identify issues, ensuring compatibility and minimizing downtime and risk. AI agents automate migration using runbook scripts, monitor progress, and ensure adherence to the migration plan, while human approval is sought between migration waves. AI agents continuously track cloud performance, detect anomalies, and provide alerts, helping optimize operations and ensure adherence to the migration plan. AI agents specifically look for event correlation, do predictive maintenance and detection of anomalies, alert and notifications on incidents.
Okay, Pranita. So before we dive in, I know that we work together closely on many client engagements as it comes to cloud migration. Like I said before, we get into talk more about cloud migration, its challenges, and what AI can do. Maybe introduce yourself a little bit and tell us about what you do in your day job.
Sure, Suk. Thank you so much. So, first off, very happy to be part of this panel discussion. I would like to thank Chai and WIC for this opportunity, and also thanks to all the folks who have joined us today. So, coming to my day job, proud women in cloud, I would say, driving cloud transformation strategy and innovation as part of the cloud engineering practice in EY, and have been leading multiple cloud transformation and migration engagements for clients across the globe. And also, I just wanted to take a moment to say what a fantastic session that was on the AI driven decision making. Gayatri and Pat brought such thoughtful insights, right, on how AI is reshaping the strategy as well as operations in the cloud. I felt AI was right at the heart of the conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think from that is taking that strategy, operations, innovations, now seeing it in action, right? Gayatri, maybe talk a little bit about kind of the drivers, right, for the use of AI in cloud migration. Again, we're not doing this because everybody is using Gen AI and AI, right? But maybe talk a little bit about the drivers behind this, the thought process about why we all start thinking about how AI can help us alleviate some of the problems in cloud migration. Specifically, what are the challenges?
Sure, Suk. That's a great question to start with, right? As we all know that cloud migration is the process of moving data, applications, and infrastructure, right, from on-premises or legacy systems to the cloud, right? And it's just not a technical move. It's about unlocking the potential of the cloud, right? Whether it is agility or cost efficiency for that matter, right? It's about transforming how organizations operate, scale, and innovate. And it typically unfolds in multiple phases, right? So right from the discovery and assessment to planning and design to migration and the post migration optimization. So these are the exact phases what we saw in the video as well. And so, as you rightly mentioned, we have worked in multiple cloud migration engagements before, and you would agree that each of these phases, right, presents unique challenges and also opportunities where AI can play a transformative role, right? So let me just take some examples in each of these phases, right? So when we talk about discovery and assessment, this is the phase where we get to know the environment, right? What applications, what data, or what systems do we have, and what kind of dependencies, and we analyze it, right? Whether these can be moved to cloud. If you think about the earlier situation, right, it can be tedious, or most of the task will be manual, working through a lot of spreadsheets, documents, or it could be architecture diagrams, or interviewing stakeholders and trying to make some sense of the massive data sets, right? But with AI, right, and as you saw in the video, AI can automate the discovery process, right? It can take the structured and unstructured data, analyze it faster and more accurately than humans can do. And also it can find patterns, right? And it can also see and uncover some sort of hidden connections between applications and infrastructures and systems, right? And it can accelerate the whole process. Instead of, say, about 8 weeks of discovery and assessment, it can reduce to, say, about four to 5 weeks, right? Almost like 40 to 45% of efficiency gain. And similarly with the planning and design, right? We have to go and see what stays on-prem, right? What gets refactored, what can be lifted and shifted, or what gets rebuilt entirely, right? So all these we had to do manually before, or maybe some sort of tool which we used to do. But with AI, right, it can simulate different migration paths, assess which one are like cost effective, or also it can generate high level and low level design documents, which typically it takes like weeks together to prepare, right? But with AI, it can be accelerated and the whole planning phase can be sped up. And similarly, the migration execution, which is the big move, right? It's like high stakes, high pressure, and things can go terribly wrong if not managed properly. And with AI powered automation, we can orchestrate the migration, we can schedule the tasks intelligently, right? And we can have the whole of monitoring process in real time, right? And if something goes off track, right, it automatically can recommend corrective actions. And similar with post-migration optimization as well, right? It can analyze usage patterns, or it can forecast future needs and also identify inefficiencies, and it can help cost optimization by predicting future cloud spending and flag areas where resources can be reduced and without sacrificing performance. Just to summarize the whole thing, AI is transforming the entire migration lifecycle, right? From discovery to optimization. And as AI gets more agentic, like Pat mentioned, it's about shifting from being a supporting tool to an active decision maker, driving autonomous decisions and executions, especially when it comes to the complex environment.
Yeah, and I like the part when you talk about cloud migration is not just only about a technology transformation, right? Because a lot of the times it actually involves interactions with the application owners, with your business users. So with the use, like you said, the team that is doing all of the analysis is if they can shift left those analysis, do it sooner, you actually give it more time, right? For the team to engage with the human conversations, the human interactions, because that part is absolutely essential to make sure that the migration process, right, and managing the stakeholders part to be ready for the cutover, those are extremely important. Now, I'm going to ask you the next question here, right, is in terms of the adoption, just like anything, any new technology, there is always an adoption. I'm sure, Pranita, many years ago when we were talking about cloud migration, it was about, okay, now driving cloud adoption. Now with AI, Gen AI, yes, there is a lot of readiness to embrace it. How do you see that with organization that's going to adopt AI, right? It's not just, hey, let's just go do it, but
Yeah.
what needs to be in place, right, in really to have a successful adoption?
Yeah, so that's a great follow-up question, right? So as you rightly said, I would say this is one of the most critical stages in the cloud migration journey. So this is where decisions are made about what to move, right? When and how, and preparation of waves, and within how many months we have to migrate the workloads. We have to consider technical feasibility, cost implications, majorly security constraints, right? And business timelines as well. And at the same time, minimizing risk. Traditionally, I would say the stage is very complex and time consuming, and it's heavily reliant on manual analysis. But with AI coming into play, right, a lot of steps can be automated. For example, dependency mapping. It's one of the most tedious tasks in any of the cloud migration project or a discovery and assessment project. The one which I always struggle with is dependency mapping, right? If you imagine having 1,000 or 2,000 applications, right, and coming up with a dependency mapping is a tedious task. But Now with the AI agentic migration tool or other AI tools, we can quickly and very accurately identify the relationship between the applications, databases, services, right? So it reduces the risk of, say, about service disruption. And similarly, the strategy recommendation. So we always sometimes go wrong in recommending the migration strategy, whether it is a lift and shift or a rebuild or a replatform. But I think with AI, that's definitely going to reduce. And similarly, intelligent cost forecasting, right? Rather than relying on some estimates, static estimates, right? Now AI can simulate cloud cost under different scenarios. It can consider the region-based pricing for that matter, or instance types, right? Or it can take the industry benchmark, right? And the usage pattern, and then they can come with the cost forecasting. If I have to put it in a nutshell, especially the measurable impact, right? Planning timelines are significantly reduced, right? Maybe by 40 to 45% in the planning phase alone. And also accuracy improves due to the ability to process and correlate the large volume of data sets. Definitely, AI has been very in turning the whole of cloud migration planning from a reactive and manual processing to the one which is more of predictive and a much faster process.
Yeah. One last question for you. So having that process, having people ready with skills to embrace and adopt AI, right? Those are important, right? Now, I think there's also another aspect that besides cyber, there's also another aspect that's really important, right? It's around the AI governance, right?
Yeah.
Making sure that you have the right guardrails. So maybe take 30 seconds to maybe talk about that, because it is important that we have responsible AI as well, especially given that, yes, there's a lot of tremendous capability, right, in using Gen AI. So talk about that. Where do you see that governance? What type of governance needs to be established, right, before, right, organizations goes on to deploy and adopt Gen AI?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. That's a very important point, Suk, right? Organizations, as they are adopting cloud, they are thinking very carefully about responsible AI, right? How to govern in a way that ensures trust, safety, and accountability, right? I would say there are a few core pillars when it comes to responsible AI, right? The first one being transparency, right? And explainability. So, when we adopt cloud and when we use AI tools, the organization also want to know why an AI agent recommends a certain strategy, right? Or it flags a risk, right? So the decisions remain clear, auditable, and aligned with the business goals. And similarly, compliance and security, right? By design. So it means that embedding compliance and security into any AI solutions and AI systems which we are using in the organization, right? And it can automatically flag any kind of data residency concerns or security gaps. And last but not the least, I would say human oversight, right? And accountability. As we are adopting AI and going with advanced AI, right, there's a strong emphasis on maintaining the human in the loop oversight. Migration strategies, architectural changes, right, or anything involving sensitive data still requires validation and approval by humans, right? And we have the AI review board also in place. So I feel these are the few of the responsible AI pillars which all the organizations are adopting.
Yeah, I love it. I think the way you wrap it up is very elegant in the way it says that at the end of the day, right, this is really a human AI journey together, right? There is no lack of human involvement and it is essential, right? I think to the earlier point, make my pet and with Gayatri is there is empowerment, right? Empowerment, acceleration with the use of AI, but it is not without human involvement. So, well, thank you so
Absolutely.
much. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, just I would like to add one more ending comment. As you rightly mentioned, so the future isn't AI versus humans, right? It's AI with humans working together. With that, I'll just close my note.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Now, with that, I'm going to turn it back to Chai.
And Pranita, what a fantastic conversation. And especially, Pranita, you're talking about the dependency mapping and doing all these migrations in the past. I can tell you it was probably one of the hardest thing to do. And I would say, grueling work, right? And the hard work. And if that can make your life easy and you can focus on managing your customers' need, I think it's brilliant. I would say that's a great place to have AI do it. Did you both enjoy the session today?
Absolutely.
Hi. That goes without saying. You can see me having smile throughout the whole session. I can go on with all these questions, but I know we have to turn it over to the Q&A as well.
Absolutely. No, the session was fantastic. I think the key insight that Pat and Gayatri gave is differentiating yourself is critical, especially around identifying what that high value work and where are the places you can make the best judgment, high judgment. And that's a skill that AI cannot do. You can do it. I do have a few questions that people have sent in. So please put it in the chat. Carolina, if you can take the slides down for a moment, and then we'll do the Q&A. So the first question here that I got is, what do we need to feed as an input into the AI tools to determine dependency mapping between the application and applications to database? Very technical question, Pranita. So I'm going to ask you, and then I can also add some data on that one.
All right. Happy to take that question. And Chai, as you mentioned, as I have experienced, and Sue, I'm sure that you also agree to this point. So when we think about the dependency analysis, right, all what comes into mind is tons of Excel sheet, right? And tons of rows of data about applications, servers, right, configurations, and database. So in an AI tool, especially in the tool what we have developed, any structured or unstructured data about any of this can be directly fed. And we have a data transformation agent, which is going to turn the whole data into meaningful insights and give you the dependency. So that's the simplest answer I can give.
Suk, anything you want to add?
No, I think Pranita say it well here, but I want to hear your point, Chai.
I'm 100% in alignment to Nita. The thing is that you do need to have the right data set fed, the right governance and policies fed, and also making sure that as a human intervention for reviewing the sensitive information and how the dependencies needs to be matched, you still need to put in your insight on it. But the thing is that the grueling work will go away. And this kind of work, automation was required in tech because there was like this place where the tech workers were working day in and day out around the migration. I think this kind of takes it gives them breathing time, I personally feel, where you can actually work on the best of the best work in the tech. And the failure rates are lower if the dependency mapping is done at a higher efficiency. I think right now was like 85% dependency mapping with humans. Even if we move by 5 to 10 points, I think we are going to be so much better, faster, and the implementation is going to be much better. Don't you think? That's my point of view from that.
And by the way, Chai, the thing I think is things change, right? Things change so quickly, right? By being able to use AI automation, it helps a lot versus just continue to throw human manual effort at it. So I think that's the other part that AI really helps, right? Is being able to keep pace with the changes as we continue to advance technology, application stack changes, and application dependencies. I cannot imagine having to redo or refresh, right? That analysis like 3 months later. So what has changed? Do we have to reanalyze the 1,000 of rows again?
Yes, absolutely. And this is a very interesting question, but I think I have an answer, but I will have you both start. The one is, how sure are you in implementing AI into your system that the percentage of hallucination is at an acceptable level? Great question, Karima, but I have an answer, but any one of you want to take it, let me know. Otherwise, I'll start mine and then you can add in your color commentary.
Why don't you go first, Chai?
Okay, when you think about hallucination, if you're looking at ChatGPT and the regular Perplexity, the chances of a public using infrastructure is going to be higher from a percentage of it. But when you're looking at an enterprise, it's mostly a private and a dedicated infrastructure that you're adding. So you're actually removing majority of the hallucination because you don't actually can afford bad content to be fed and bad results to come in. And that's where the enterprise level implementation is so going to be good. And even if you look at Perplexity and OpenAI or any other infrastructure, enterprise level solutions are much better than what the public is getting. So just know that there is a much better governance and much more detailed assessments done, audits done to remove the hallucination. That's my point of view of coming from the enterprise background and talking to most of the customers. What about
And
you?
I would like to add to what Chai said. We discussed about responsible AI, right? So that's it, right? So here in our organization, any of the AI solutions what we built, any of the accelerators which we are even thinking about, right? So we have an AI boardroom, right, which kind of reviews all the solution, right? And on top of that, there are other reviews and the risk assessments which will be done on top of this solution reviews. So I think once that is done, I think we are good to go. That's my point of view.
Now, I would just say that I think a point we touch upon, right? AI relies on data, which is absolutely why it is so important to curate your data, right? So start there, right? Start to make sure that you curate your data over there, right? There is governance, guardrails, right? And there are certain use cases you may want to be able to leverage Gen AI, right? Because they are lower risk and there is lower risk of hallucinations. There are some that are more higher risk use cases, right? Then I would say do more tests, right? Do more preparations, have more reviews before you just jump into it, which is exactly why my question to Pranita is, we may all be all ready, right? Your workforce are all upskill ready to go. You're ready to adopt, but you must have a set of guardrails, right? Framework. How do you make sure that it is stays true, right, to your organization's compliance?
Said so, Kanita. This is the last one. Hopefully, you can stay for another maybe 5 minutes. Is that something possible? Okay. What are the long term implications of AI driven cloud transformation on business model and operation? What are you anticipating from EY point of view, or even just a personal point of view?
So Chai, say that one more time, the question. Sorry, I'm just trying to understand that. What is the intent behind that question?
I would say, I think if you can put in the chat, are you new to AI or are you an expert in AI? Based on that, we will give an answer. Go put it in the chat. Are you new to AI or you're an expert in AI? So he's an intermediate user, Suk, Pranita, I would say is the Pandora box of AI is open. Now it's open. It can't go back. So the question would be, what is the long-term implication? I wouldn't say there is any implication. There's only growth opportunities in every business and optimizing. And at the end of the day, a company is looking for profitability and making sure there is a much higher, I would say, better standards on how technology is built. So, Pranita, what about you both?
That's said, Chai, right? And just to share my thoughts on this, 1.5 to 2 years back, when the whole boom of Gen AI started, I still remember we were brainstorming how we can infuse Gen AI into our accelerators and to our capabilities and offerings. So that was the initial stage, right? And then it was evolving, right? It's evolving continuously. And now we are in the era of AI agent, right? AI agentic migration, and we are using AI agents to do anything, right? To automate for better decision making and so on and so forth. Maybe after, say, about 6 months or 1 year down the lane, it could be something else, right? It could be AGI, or it could be any other new AI technology which is going to take the whole of IT by storm. So that's how I see it's. As you said, there's no looking back. Now we have opened the Pandora box. That's it.
Yeah, I'm going to date myself a little bit here, right? 30 years in the technology industry, right? Have gone through many different waves, right, of new technology. And each time when a new technology comes in, there is always that uncertainty and fear, right? What does it mean to my job, right? But look at here where we all are, right? I think most of us here have at least 20 years of experience. We are still in the IT industry. And by the way, I have a college son who is actually majoring in computer science. And I did not dissuade him because I do see that we will still need technology in order, right, to enable technology to get better. I think, again, any technology, there's always the downside, right? There is always going into maybe the dark areas. That's why coming back is putting technologies in the right hands with the right governance is very important. Implications, I think the implications here would be it's only for the better, right? We will only advance, right, when the technology is being used in the right way. So I'm not fearing it, I'm embracing it, adopting it. My only thing here is continue to say is we must have a governance framework. That's all.
Completely agree, so Pranita. I think it's really driving the right guardrails for any implementation is the good one. And it has happened over the last 30 years. So we are being like seasoned executives in the tech. So we are not afraid, but you do need to pay more deeper attention because the speed of innovation is very fast and I can't keep up with the innovation that is happening. So again, thank you to both of you and Pat and Gayatri for really making the day and the session very insightful. Carolina, if you can share the slides, I want to know is what was your takeaway and one action you will take? Because this is a drill that we go through with Women in Cloud is what were your takeaways and one action you will do to develop your skills in AI? Because at the end of the day, we need to get each one of you ready for taking advantage of this infrastructure that is made accessible for us. Yes, Karima, responsible AI is key. The next question I have as you're typing is think about what's your dream AI assistant name and what it would specialize in. So let's say agentic AI is here. What will that be? Think about it. Put it in the chat or go ahead and make that happen so that you start thinking and dreaming about what your agentic AI looks like. Anita, if you have yours, put it in the chat. What does that dream AI agent looks like for you? So here are a few invitations that I would love to share from Women in Cloud because many of you are new. So the first is there are multiple technical opportunities. We have a global DevSecOps certification scholarships. They are free as well as subsidy based. We have a cybersecurity certification that is available for US. There is 1,000 certifications available. Please go ahead and explore. We have a skills ready challenge, which is really micro credentialing using the Microsoft Learn infrastructure. There is Cloud Job Workshop series that are available so you can get and learn about anything about preparing for certification to preparing for those jobs. And Job of the Week, EY actually does a very strategic campaign, which really allows us to share those $100,000 jobs for the Women in Cloud. So please be active to look for it. And then we have an AI Innovation Challenge, which is coming in June. So be part of it. So with regards to the first opportunity we talked about was the Microsoft Cybersecurity certification. If you're in US, there are 1,000 plus scholarships available. Apply these scholarships at $6,500 value. And can be completely made accessible for you. So please apply. The second one is the DevSecOps program, which is a new one because most of the global scholarships are completed. So now we have a subsidy based. Go to the next slide, Carolina. So this one is really helping you get certified, get hired, and secure the future. Many of them have joined. This program, again, is a $6,500 value, but it's subsidized to $590. So it is available till May 31st. If you're interested, apply for it. It has a lot of the whole community is put together to really help you become the DevSecOps engineer or an AI security analyst or cyber risk specialist and really get you ready for those $70,000 to $100,000 jobs that are available. And sign up for the Cloud Jobs and Preparedness session. Please take action. The more you show up, the more you join our sessions, it will help you advance your skill. And the last one we have is the awards are going on. So if you know anyone in your network, nominate them. You need to recognize your role models who are really helping you move the needle for you. With that, I want to really say thank you for joining today's session. Carolina, you can take the slides down. If there's any other things you need, join the digital network, be part of our community, and be active. Again, thank you so much for joining today. Looking forward for engaging with you within the digital network. And loud shout out to Evi, Anna, thank you so much for helping make this possible. And to Pranita, Suk, Pat, and Gayatri for making this CXO series valuable for all of us. Again, thank you all for joining today.